Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2005 Mercury Monterey Premier. Up front is a 4.2 liter V6, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Mercury Monterey because it is a rare, strange minivan from the mid-2000s. This was the Ford Motor Company's attempt at a luxury minivan to rival that of the Buick Terraza, another strange, oddly luxurious minivan from the mid-2000s. It was kind of a two-horse race that no one specifically asked for, and so both of these vans were sold in relatively low numbers. This is also the Premier, meaning it has almost all of the bells and whistles. It is the top trim, but didn't receive every option, and it's incredibly clean from Florida, although that might be changing after driving it through this Michigan winter, but that's okay. If you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you would like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month, as well as there is exclusive audio content. But let's get back to that 4.2 liter V6 under the hood. Well, it was also found in vehicles like the Ford F-150 at the time. This was the basic F-150 engine. It's a relatively big V6. Over 4 liters in my head is always kind of big, so 4.2 definitely fits that. But at the end of the day, it's not a bad engine. It works, it's pretty reliable, and that's what I like to see. However, what's not reliable is the transmission. The transmission actually had several recalls done to it in both the Monterey and the Ford Freestar, which is the sister van to this van. They're the same thing underneath. There was, I believe, a torque converter shaft issue, if I remember correctly. And so a lot of the earlier ones were recalled, and the fix wasn't really ever properly done. So although this was an incredibly short run of the Monterey, they were mostly all plagued with transmission issues. Last but not least, the Monterey is front-wheel drive, much to my chagrin here in the snow. How does it feel to drive the Mercury Monterey? It's a minivan. Ain't nothing special about it. Here's the thing. Visibility is good. Seating position is good. It's really simple and easy to drive, and that's something that minivans have always been very good at, because people of all statures, size, and backgrounds have to be able to drive the Monterey, because this is more of a utility car. Now, this is a luxury utility car, which normally doesn't make sense, but it's still easy to drive, and even here in the snow, I don't have too much worry. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges. Off to the left is my tachometer. In the center, I get my coolant temperature and fuel, and off to the right is my speedometer. We also do get a little digital readout for the odometer and average MPG, which I guess is nice to see. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our cruise control options, and off to the right, we have our volume, seek, media, and mute. Very nice to see all of that. To the left, we do have our climate control vent, headlight switch, and fog light switch, as well as our gauge dimmer switches, and our pedal adjustment. Ford Motor Company was really good about pedal adjustments back in the 2000s, and they didn't skip over the Monterey. And moving on to the door, we have 2 levels of memory seats up top, latch to get in and out, and then power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Up over your right shoulder, you do have buttons for the power doors as well as the power tailgate. You get this awesome mirror so you can keep an eye on your kids or any passengers in the back, make sure they're not up to no good. And you get a little temperature reading and compass. Moving into the center, we do get a big storage cubby. Again, Ford loved doing this in the era. The Ford Taurus of the same era actually had a similar designed storage cubby up in the center of the dash. We also do get an analog clock and 2 climate vents. The analog clock really sort of reinforcing that luxury feel here in the Monterey as opposed to the Freestar. And then we have the radio. This is a very, 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 very typical radio from Ford. I've seen it in the Taurus, in the Freestyle, in so many of their vehicles from this era. Seems like an old friend at this point. We do have our hazard switch and parking sensors off to the left. Very nice to get parking sensors here. And we do have our vent off to the right, but then down below we have our climate controls. Dual zone climate, very, very nice to see that. But the creme de la creme is cooled seats. This van has cooled seats. Back in 2005, this was an industry exclusive. No other minivan in 2005 had front cooled seats. Very, very cool to see that here in the Monterey. And of course, we have heated seats along with it. Then we do get two 12-volt outlets and slide-out cup holders. So we'll do a big friggin' bottle test, and it fits perfectly. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we in the business call a beautiful, beautiful pass. We also do get a little coin holder, very nice to see that, and an extra storage cubby down below. Then we do get a center console. Not much going on here. You can open it. There is some storage up front and inside of it. And then moving on to the seats. The seats are heated, ventilated, power, and memory. Only the driver's seat is memory, but really, really nice options here. Again, for 2005. You have to remember that this van is 20 years old and it has these fantastic options, which I'm very happy to see. However, speaking of seats, it's a minivan, gosh darn it. So let's hop into the back and do some backseat reviews. All right, so I'm in the second row of the Mercury Monterey Premier, and a couple of things to note. First of all, you might notice that I'm a little bit closer to the middle than this seat. And that's not an optical illusion, it's the truth. Behind this seat is actually the heater, so they moved this seat inward a little bit to accommodate the heater so it's not just blasting the plastic on the back of the seat. However, I do have a cup holder that folds out of the side, very nice to see that, and I fit very comfortably. Minivans still are unbeaten when it comes to back seat comfort and quality. If you have more than 2 kids, I've said this a million times, minivans are always the way to go. And that's really clear here in the Mercury Monterey. And it's a little bit comfier than other minivans, at least of yesteryear. I have controls up here for fan speed and temperature, media and volume. I have headphone jacks. I have lights in here as well that have been swapped to LED. They were not originally LED. And the owner has pulled out for me the workshop manual for the Freestar and Monterey. Very cool to see that. Look at all of this fantastic old literature for the 05 Monterey. Look at how cool and special the Monterey looked. Love to see that. And then we have volume 1 of the workshop manual. So we have both volumes of workshop manual. Love to see that. Now, let's hop into the third row. All right, in the very third row, I'm not super comfortable, but I fit. There are minivans that do third rows way better. Honestly, I think the Town & Country does. But I have cup holders. There is a 12-volt outlet over here. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'm kind of chilling back here. I'm in the third row of a Mercury Monterey. Who has said that in 2025? I have to be one of the only people that has said that. That's kind of cool. I like that. But let's hop back here because there's even more space behind the third row for the trunk. Hopping out here, it is kind of cool to note that the hazards or the turn signals actually turn on when the door is open. So you can come in here, hit the button, and they do have power doors. Moving around the back of the Monterey, we have this giant handle. Oh, and it is a power tailgate. Very, very nice to see that. So once we are back here, a couple of things to note. We do have our jack in there. We have tons of space down below. Absolutely love to see that. And we get our third row. So very, very cool. Apparently, if you only do step 2, so if you pull step 2, there we go. This now converts it to tailgating mode. So essentially, the idea is that then you can sit like this at a tailgate. And it actually is kind of comfy. It's kind of cool. But that was a feature at the time. Really, you're just skipping one of the fold-up steps. So I feel like that was an afterthought feature. But there you go. If you want to sit at a drive-in movie, you can pop it down. We do have a button here for the power tailgate, right back down like that. Absolutely love to see a power tailgate from 20 years ago. Now we gotta talk about the looks. And I don't care for the looks. They're not doing anything for me. It is what it is. However, this van is incredibly clean, so I do like seeing that. And it's just a nice dose of nostalgia. You know, these have all but disappeared from the modern roads, and there's reason for that. First of all, minivans in general aren't really keepsake vehicles, but B, with the transmission issues that these tend to have, these were sent to the junkyard more often than not. And with the Mercury Monterey already being such a rare, not very purchased vehicle, well, the numbers have dwindled for the last 2 decades. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a Mercury Monterey? Well, I love it. I love this van so much, because it is just a strange average car from 20 years ago, and well, that's kind of my niche here on the Shooting Cars channel. I think this suffers from the same issue that the Buick Terraza suffered from, which was the fact that no one asked for this. If you had a big family and needed a minivan, odds are you were trying to make every dollar stretch as far as you could. So the Freestyle was fantastic at its base level. The Chrysler Town & Country or Dodge Grand Caravan at the time, they were wonderful, and they helped families see the world and travel and get the kids to soccer practice, get the kids to recitals, get the kids to school and work and what have you. So many memories are made, and especially on a day like today, it's snowing. This definitely would have been a snow day back in high school. How many people drove Ford Freestyles and Mercury Montereys to high school? How many people tried to do donuts in these in snowy parking lots? How many people quickly found out that you can't do that in a front-wheel drive van, but who tried it in their mom's minivan? I mean, so the weather today kind of reinforces this idea, but this is where memories were made. But again, families weren't really asking for a luxurious minivan. They just needed it as a tool. Who really wanted the nicer one? I personally have no need for a bedazzled, bejeweled, leather-bound handled hammer. I just need a hammer to put nails in the wall so I can hang up pictures. I don't need a heated and ventilated grip on the hammer. I don't need Bluetooth connectivity with the hammer. Speaking of which, this could be optioned with a DVD player. This one particularly wasn't, but you could get that at the time. So it wasn't really for anyone, and that's why they sold so few of them. But now to be driving one, this is really truly a clear-cut view of the excess that we saw in the early 2000s. We also had like the GMC Envoy XUV that had a power folding roof that could turn an SUV into a pickup truck at a moment's notice. Who needed that? No one needed that, but that's what we were selling. We had the Plymouth Prowler. No one needs a vehicle like that. That has no general purpose, but they sold them. And so this is in that category. Absolutely no one needs this, but it's here and I like it. It's special. And honestly, I was just excited to show you a clean example of a Mercury Monterey, something you probably won't see ever again. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Dave for letting me borrow his Mercury Monterey on this snowy Michigan morning. He has been absolutely wonderful to work with, a very kind, very gracious host, and I appreciate him still going on with it even though the weather wasn't so great. Dave is one of the best, and I appreciate him very much. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.